when Patricia loaded up the car and headed to the beach with our 2 kids. I'll confess I felt a tiny spark of freedom. It wasn't the kind of wild, let's throw a party vibe, just a calm, quiet relief, like I could finally catch my breath. The house was all mine for the first time in ages. No cartoons blasting from the TV. No stray toys cluttering the stairs. Just me, a hushed living room, and 4 whole days to dive into work without a single distraction. Patricia had been planning this trip for weeks, saying the kids deserved a proper getaway. Building sandcastles, slathering on sunscreen, hunting for seashells, the full beach experience. I stayed behind, swamped with overdue projects. But if I'm being honest, I was secretly craving the stillness more than I let on. That first night alone, I was knee-deep in sorting spreadsheets when a sharp, rapid knock at the door jolted me. It wasn't the kind of knock you just brush off. It was my neighbor Daryl, the guy who seems to know everybody's business. Not in a gossipy way, more like he's the unofficial watchdog of the neighborhood. He's always got the scoop on who's out of town, whose car is parked oddly, or when someone's dog wanders off. That night, though, he seemed on edge, his eyes flicking past me as he talked. He mentioned he'd just installed some security cameras around his place, including one pointed at his front porch, saying it made him feel more secure. I gave a polite nod, but honestly, it felt a bit excessive. We live in a sleepy suburb where nothing ever really goes down. Daryl didn't let it go, though, insisting that with Patricia and the kids away, I should consider it too. He got this intense look, warning me you never think you're at risk until something happens, mentioning a buddy of his who got robbed last month and didn't even notice until half his stuff was gone. He swore by these cameras, saying they let you monitor everything live on your phone, calling it real peace of mind. He had this air about him, like he was clued into something I wasn't. I brushed it off with a laugh, but later that night, his words stuck with me. I ended up browsing security systems online, and one caught my attention. Small, easy to set up, streaming live to my phone in under an hour. I bought it on impulse, not entirely sure why. Maybe Daryl's paranoia got to me. Maybe the house felt too eerily quiet, or maybe some gut instinct was already whispering trouble was coming. I didn't mention it to Patricia, didn't even cross my mind to. When the cameras arrived 3 days later, I installed them with this weird sense of urgency. One by the front door, one near the garage, and another watching the backyard. I tested the app on my phone, walked around the house tweaking angles, and everything worked like a charm. That night, I stood in the living room, staring at my phone screen for silent video feeds showing every corner of my home. It should have felt empowering, like I was in control. Instead, it gave me this uneasy feeling, like I just opened a door to something I couldn't unsee. When Patricia and the kids got back 4 days later, the house came alive again the second they stepped inside. Their laughter echoed. Shoes got kicked off in a heap, and bags were tossed everywhere. Patricia wrapped me in a hug, like she'd missed me more than the sandy shores, her hair carrying the scent of sunscreen and ocean breeze. The kids, all sunburned and bursting with energy, spilled stories about their adventures. It felt warm, grounded, like life had snapped back to normal. We slid right back into our routine. School drop-offs, work, late-night movies, debates over dinner plans. And I didn't give the cameras another thought. They just hummed along in the background, out of sight, out of mind. Then one Monday morning, out of nowhere, it hit me that I hadn't checked the camera footage since they'd been home. On a whim, I opened the app, just curious. That's when I saw him, a tall, lanky guy in a gray hoodie and jeans, strolling through our front door like he owned the place. The timestamp showed it happened while the kids were at school, when Patricia was supposed to be home alone. I froze, staring at the screen. He wasn't a delivery guy. No clipboard, no uniform. He didn't glance around like he was confused or lost. He moved with this calm confidence, like he knew every inch of the house. I scrubbed through the rest of the footage. He was inside for about an hour, never once looking at the camera, just drifting from room to room, slow and easy, like he was right at home. My chest tightened, but I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he was from a utility company, or maybe Patricia had booked a repair and forgot to tell me. But something about him, the way he ran his hand along the kitchen counter, the way he lingered by the stairs, felt deeply wrong. That night, I didn't breathe a word to Patricia. I sat next to her on the couch, acting like everything was fine. She laughed at the cheesy movie we were watching, and I forced a smile, but in my head, I was replaying that footage on a loop. She hadn't mentioned anyone coming by. Not a single hint about a visitor. The next day, I checked the footage again. Nothing. The next couple of days, I checked the footage again, and it was the same. Nothing unusual. I tried convincing myself I was just blowing things out of proportion, letting my imagination run wild. But then, 2 days later, he showed up again, the same guy, same gray hoodie, same easy stride, like he was right at home in my house. This time, though, something caught my eye that I'd missed before. He strolled into the living room, stopped, and stood there almost like he was expecting something. Then, for just a split second, he glanced up, right at the camera, and flashed a smile. I sat there, glued to my phone, trying to wrap my head around that smile. It wasn't warm or cocky, it was quiet, unsettling, like he knew I was watching, like he'd been waiting for me to see him. Then he just slipped out of frame, like this was some casual drop-in. No big deal. That smile haunted me for hours after I closed the app. I wanted to storm into the kitchen and ask Patricia what was going on. Believe me, I did. But something held me back, a gut feeling that I wasn't ready for whatever truth might come out. So I kept my mouth shut. I played with the kids, forced a smile, and acted like I hadn't just seen a stranger waltz through my home and stare into the lens of camera I'd set up without telling my wife. That night, sleep barely came. I lay next to Patricia, listening to her soft breathing, her hand resting lightly on my chest, like everything was perfectly fine. I wanted so badly to believe it was, but that uneasy feeling I tried to ignore had dug its claws in deep. I couldn't shake it, couldn't brush off the growing suspicion that something was happening right under my nose, in my own home. The next morning, I knew what I had to do. I ordered more cameras, smaller ones this time, with better angles, designed to stay hidden. I tucked one into a bookshelf in the living room, another in the hallway, and the last one in our bedroom. That one stunned the most, but I needed answers, even if they tore me apart. I didn't tell Patricia a thing. I told myself it was just about keeping an eye on things, not spying. I was protecting our family. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. I needed to know what was happening when I wasn't around, what she wasn't sharing. I had to see it for myself. Every morning, after getting to work, I'd check the footage. For a few days, it was nothing, just Patricia folding laundry, watching TV, making lunch, or scrolling on her phone. Same as always. Nothing seemed off, nothing raised a red flag. But on the 7th day, with the kids already at school and Patricia home alone, I opened the app like usual, expecting another uneventful day. Then there he was again. Same hoodie, same confident walk, moving through my house like he had a key of his own. This time he stayed longer, and what I saw next turned my world inside out. He walked into our bedroom, and Patricia followed him in. My heart sank. Part of me wanted to slam the phone down, smash it, and pretend I hadn't seen it, but I couldn't look away. I watched them in our bedroom, my bedroom. Patricia stood by the window, arms crossed, trying to seem relaxed, like this was no big deal. The guy didn't say much. He just stepped closer to her, slow and deliberate, like he'd done it 100 times before. They didn't touch, not this time, but the tension between them was heavy, even through the blurry camera feed. Patricia looked at him with this softness in her eyes, the way she used to look at me back when things were still good between us. She smiled, not a polite, neighborly smile, but one filled with a warmth I hadn't seen from her in years. They talked for a while, and I cursed myself for not getting a camera with audio. What a dumb oversight. But I didn't need sound to understand. The way she leaned toward him, the way he perched on the edge of our bed, like it was his own, like he belonged there. It said everything. After about 15 minutes, he left. Just like that, no kiss, no touch, just out the front door and gone. Patricia stayed behind, sitting on the bed for a while, staring at the floor. Then she stood, fluffed the pillows, and headed to the kitchen, like nothing had happened. That hit me harder than anything. Not just that she let him into our house, into our bedroom, but how effortlessly she carried on afterward, like it was just another ordinary day. That night, I couldn't eat. I told Patricia I wasn't feeling well, and she didn't push, just told me to rest and kiss my forehead before tucking the kids in. That kiss felt like a brand, searing into me. I wanted to pull away, to demand answers, but I froze, clinging to some faint hope that this was all a misunderstanding. I couldn't stop checking the footage, every day, every angle. I started memorizing her routine, when she ran errands, when she stayed home, when the kids were out. I didn't want to become this person, obsessed and paranoid, but I was already there. I was living two lives. One where I pretended everything was fine, laughing with the kids, joking with Patricia, and another where I watched the truth unravel on a screen. I didn't know what I was going to do next, not yet, but one thing was crystal clear. Something had to change. The next time that guy showed up, I was determined to get more than just blurry video. I needed evidence so solid it couldn't be brushed off. No room for excuses or half-truths, just a raw, unfiltered reality. Deep down, I had this gnawing feeling that the truth was coming, and it wasn't going to wait long. Sleep became a stranger after that. Every creak of the floorboards, every door clicking shut in the night, snapped my eyes open. I kept my phone on the nightstand, always charged, always within reach, like a lifeline. Checking the cameras became my obsession. First thing in the morning, during lunch breaks, even sneaking peeks from the bathroom stall at work. I got hooked on the quiet, holding my breath for the moment it would shatter. Days dragged by, and he didn't return. I started wondering if I'd made it all up, if I'd misread everything. Maybe he was just a friend, a handyman, or someone Patricia was helping out. I gripped those possibilities like a lifeline, desperate to believe them, but they didn't stick. That uneasy feeling clung to me, trailing me to work, sitting beside me at the dinner table, heavy and unrelenting. Patricia had no idea. She flashed her usual smiles, cracked jokes, and carried on like our world wasn't cracking. Her goodnight kisses, her body curled against mine in bed. Her warmth felt like a betrayal, sharp and toxic. One night, after the kids were tucked in, I watched her reading in bed. Her hair pulled back, glasses perched on her nose, feet tucked under the blanket. She looked so calm, so familiar, and it tore me up that I couldn't trust a single thing about her anymore. The next morning, it was back to the routine. Kids off to school, me heading to work. The second I sat at my desk, I pulled up the camera feed, my heart already pounding. At first, everything looked normal. Patricia in the kitchen, sipping coffee, scrolling through her phone. She wandered to the living room, flipped on the TV. I skimmed through the footage minute by minute, until about 12 a.m. That's when it happened. He was back. Same hoodie, same steady stride, same air of belonging, like my house was just a roam. I watched him step inside, and this time, Patricia wasn't caught off guard. She was waiting in the hallway, phone in hand, a smile lighting up her face, no trace of hesitation. They walked into the bedroom together, and the door clicked shut behind them. I sat at my desk, staring at the timestamp, my pulse hammering in my ears. 20 minutes crawled by, then 40. The hallway camera showed nothing but stillness, the bedroom feed just a frozen image of that closed door. I didn't want to believe what was happening. Didn't want to face what I knew I'd find, but I'd brought this on myself. I'd put up those cameras, chosen to dig for the truth, and now there was no turning back. At 12:13 p.m., the door swung open. He walked out first, Patricia trailing a minute later, her hair loose now, wearing a different shirt. She strolled to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and moved on like she just tidied up or finished a chore. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like the ground had vanished beneath me. My whole body went numb. It was real, all of it. Now I had to figure out what to do with it. I didn't go straight home after work that day. I sat in my truck in the parking lot for over an hour, staring at the steering wheel, unable to face walking through that front door and pretending everything was fine. I needed space to think, to breathe, to sort out my next step. Around 7 o'clock, Patricia texted, "Everything okay? Should I start dinner?" I stared at the words, then typed back, "Running late. Grab something without me." She sent a heart emoji in reply in that casual, carefree tone, like she hadn't just let another man into our home, into our bed, made my hands tremble with rage. Eventually, I drove to the lake, parked by the water's edge, and let the silence settle around me. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't a one-time slip-up or a moment of weakness. It was deliberate, repeated, normal for her now, and she'd hidden it so effortlessly. I wanted to storm home, confront her, slam my phone down, and force her to watch the footage. I could already picture her reaction. She'd cry, spin some story, maybe even turn around and blame me for being distant or not attentive enough. No, I wasn't ready yet. I needed more, needed everything. That night, while Patricia was upstairs reading, I slipped out the garage and started planning. I ordered 2 more cameras, better ones this time. One with a wide-angle lens and night vision, the other with crystal clear audio. I was done gambling with half measures. If she was going to keep this up, I was going to catch every moment, every word. I set up both cameras in the bedroom, one tucked high in a corner, hidden behind a decorative shelf, capturing the entire bed in sharp detail. I hid the second camera, a tiny one, inside the nightstand drawer, positioning it so just the lens peeked out from a corner. That one picked up every sound, every whispered word, every deceitful breath, every betrayal. I tested both cameras, linked them to the app, and made sure they were running perfectly before leaving the room. If Patricia brought him back, I'd catch everything. Every angle, every syllable, no detail missed. The next few days blurred together. I played the part of the oblivious husband, flashing smiles, keeping up the charade, while every night I pored over the footage, searching for any hint of him. Sleep was a distant memory, and food barely registered. I was running on pure anger and determination. Then, 5 days later, it happened again. The same guy, same time of day, same casual confidence. This time, they skipped any pretense and headed straight for the bedroom. Now I had it all. Crystal clear video, full audio, every moment captured from multiple angles, everything she'd kept hidden. I sat there, eyes locked on the screen, not blinking, not moving, just absorbing it. The sound was painfully sharp. I could hear their voices, their quiet laughter, the way she murmured to him like they were the only 2 people in the world. It wasn't just physical. It was comfortable, routine, intimate, like this had been going on for a long time, maybe longer than I could stomach thinking about. The worst part? They joked about me. She called me predictable, said I'd never figured out, that I was too checked out to notice. He chuckled, told her she was too clever for me, and they made plans to meet again, same day next week. I leaned back in my chair, every muscle rigid, my phone still clutched in my hand, but I couldn't feel it anymore. My mind wasn't even angry. It was calm, icy, laser-focused. There was no room left for doubt, no space for excuses, no chance for forgiveness. I saved all the footage to a hard drive, made duplicates, and uploaded copies to cloud. I wasn't just collecting evidence. I was fortifying myself, building a barrier to protect my sanity. If I didn't preserve every second of this, I might start questioning what I'd seen, and I refused to let her have that power over me. That night, when I got home, I kept up the act. I hugged the kids, ate dinner, asked Patricia about her day. She smiled, said it was just another boring day. Cleaned the house, watched a cooking show, nothing special. Not a word about him. Her lies rolled off her tongue, so smoothly now. As she spoke, I studied her face, every blink, every forced laugh, wondering how many times she deceived me this easily, how long she'd been playing me without a flicker of guilt. But she didn't know I wasn't in the dark anymore. She had no idea I'd seen her secrets from every angle, heard every word, watched every move, and she definitely didn't know I was done pretending. By Thursday, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to shout, throw things, or confront her, not yet. Telling her I knew would hand her too much control. She'd cry, spin a sob story, drag the kids into it, or worse, start spinning lies about me to cover her tracks. No, I was going to let her unravel herself. That morning, I left for work as usual, packed my bag, kissed the kids goodbye, and told Patricia I might be late. She flashed a smile and said, "Don't work too hard." I held her gaze a moment longer than usual, searching for any sign she noticed, but she either didn't or didn't care. In my truck, I made a call to a buddy, an ex-cop turned private security guy. I told him I needed someone parked across the street from my house with a camera. He didn't pry, just asked, "What time?" I gave him the details, time frames, the guy's description, the exact shot I wanted. I didn't just want indoor footage. I needed her lover caught on camera strolling into my house in broad daylight, grinning at ease, like it was just another day. I wanted external proof to back up what I'd captured inside. I even left the front door unlocked. Sounds reckless, I know, but I wanted to ensure he walked right in. No hesitation, no barriers, just pure confidence. I needed to see how natural this had become for them. Like I didn't even exist. The rest of the day, I paced my office, barely able to sit. My phone sat on my desk, volume cranked up. At 12:47, it buzzed with a text from my guy. He's here, walked in like it's his damn house. I didn't respond, just stared at the message, feeling something inside me finally click into place. I waited an hour, my mind racing but steady, knowing every second was being recorded, inside and out. The guy left around 1:45, and my buddy caught every moment on camera. Him strolling in, lingering, then walking out like he didn't have a care in the world. I called and told him, "Send me all of it." He hesitated, asking, "You sure you want to see everything?" I replied, "I've already seen it." That night, I got home earlier than usual. Patricia glanced up from the couch, a flicker of surprise in her eyes, but she smiled anyway. "Hey, you're back early," she said. "Yeah," I muttered, shrugging off my coat. Slow afternoon at work. We sat through dinner like nothing was wrong, the kids giggling about some silly thing from school. Later, she leaned against my shoulder while we watched TV, but my mind was somewhere else, already detached, already planning. By morning, I'd be on the phone with a lawyer, and once he saw the evidence I'd gathered, this whole mess was going to come crashing down. Friday morning felt unnaturally still, the kind of quiet that seemed staged. Sunlight slipped through the blinds, and the fridge's hum was the only sound in the house. Patricia was in the kitchen, brewing coffee, humming some cheerful tune, acting like her conscience was spotless. I watched her for a moment, moving so effortlessly, looking every bit like the woman I'd married, the mother of my kids. But now, all I could see was that man in the gray hoodie, her shutting the bedroom door behind him, the sound of her laughing with him when she thought no one could hear. I had the footage prepped, every camera angle edited together, synced, and ready on my tablet. I'd made backups, one on a flash drive in my jacket, another in my truck's glove box, and a copy in a secure cloud folder only I could access. I wasn't taking any risks. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee, scrolling through her phone like it was just another lazy weekend. I waited until the kids left for a friend's house, leaving the house empty except for us. "Patricia," I said, my voice steady and cold, "we need to talk." She looked up, startled by my tone. "What's wrong?" she asked. I didn't answer with words. I tapped my tablet, and the footage started playing. At first, she seemed confused, just staring at a security feed. Then he appeared, walking into our house, moving through the hallway, stepping into our bedroom with her trailing behind, smiling. The color drained from her face. Her eyes widened, her mouth fell open, but no words came out. "Keep watching," I said, my voice flat. She did. She watched herself close the bedroom door, saw it all unfold from every angle, witnessed her secret life exposed in silence. Her hands trembled in her lap. When the final clip ended, I stayed quiet. I didn't need to say anything. The truth was already there, heavy and undeniable. She finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "It's not what you think." I cut her off, sharp and final. Don't lie to me now." Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she stammered. I didn't know how to stop. I stared at her, and for the first time in weeks, my mind was clear. No confusion, no lingering hope, just cold certainty. "I'm filing for divorce," I said. "I've already got a lawyer. He has everything, videos, timelines, names. It's all documented." She covered her mouth. But I kept going. You brought him into my house, into my bedroom, around my kids. You lied to my face every single day. I'm done. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. You don't get to cry now, I said, turning away. You made your choice. This is just the part where you see what it costs. With that, I walked out of the room. I didn't stay at the house that night. I couldn't. Being near her, knowing what I'd seen, what I'd heard, felt like drowning. I packed a bag, grabbed my laptop and phone, and left. No big scene, no yelling, just the soft click of the door behind me. The kids were still at their friend's house, and I was grateful for that. They didn't need to see their mom in tears or hear the words I'd held back. They deserved better than the wreckage we'd created. The next morning, I returned. Patricia was sitting on the edge of the bed, waiting like she'd sensed what was coming. Her eyes were red, her face pale. I didn't sit or step closer. I stayed by the door. I spoke to a lawyer. I said, my voice calm but firm, it's time to file for divorce. She looked up, her mouth parting slightly. It'll be done properly, professionally. I continued. I gave him everything, proof dates, recordings. He knows what to do. Her lips quivered, and she started to speak. Wait, please, can we just talk? You don't have to decide this so fast. I shook my head slowly. This isn't a snap decision. I made it the moment I saw you lead him into our bedroom. Patricia's face looked like she had more to say, but I pressed on, my voice steady and unyielding. You don't get to change the story now. You made your decisions. You invited him into our home, into our life, and lied to me every single day. I was just a guy hauling out the garbage and covering the bills while you played house with someone else. Tears pooled in her eyes as she stammered. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. He was just there, and you were always working, always exhausted. I felt so alone. I let out a short, bitter laugh. That's rich. I felt alone, too, but I didn't betray you. I didn't stop loving you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You stopped respecting me. I shook my head, cold and final. No, you threw that away, and there's no coming back from it. She crumbled then, sobbing, shaking, the whole performance. I watched for a moment, then turned and left the room, her cries fading behind me. The divorce process was swift. With the footage, the detailed timeline, and the logs I meticulously kept, my lawyer said it was one of the cleanest cases he'd ever handled. No theatrics, just hard evidence. Patricia tried to fight it, claiming it was a one-time lapse, insisting she was still a good mom, begging for another shot. Her lawyer pushed for joint custody, argued for splitting assets down the middle. But the proof I'd gathered shut all down before it could gain traction. In court, she barely glanced at me, sitting at her table, eyes glued to the floor like someone caught red-handed. I didn't feel triumph, just a quiet sense of closure, like turning the last page of a book. The judge saw the same truth. I did and didn't hesitate. I got primary custody of the kids. She was granted every other weekend, supervised for the first 7 months. I didn't care about keeping the house. I couldn't stomach sleeping in a place haunted by what I'd seen on those cameras. She could have it. All I wanted was peace of my kids. I shielded them from the ugly details, telling them only that Mom and Dad wouldn't live together anymore. But we both still loved them. My daughter cried. My son asked if it was his fault. I hugged him tight and said, no, never. And I meant every word. Kids pick up on more than we think. They'd probably sense the cracks in our family before I ever said a thing. In the months that followed, I settled into a modest rental house. Simple, clean, quiet. I drove the kids to school, packed their lunches, and we went on bike rides on weekends. Slowly, I started sleeping through the night again. Patricia reached out a few times. Texts, a couple of voicemails, wanted to talk, to apologize, to say things she should have said long ago. I never responded. There was nothing left to say. One night, about 7 months after it all ended, I sat on the back porch of our new place. The kids were inside, laughing at some movie, their voices carrying to the screen door. The air was crisp, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe without a weight on my chest. I wasn't angry anymore, wasn't sad, wasn't even bitter, just done. And that, honestly, felt better than anything I could have imagined. If you've been following the story and want to hear more real-life experiences like this, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps keep the channel going, and I'd love to have you along for the next one.